At just 17, James Charles was on top of the beauty world. CoverGirl's first male model, celebrity collaborations, and a reality TV show. Within a few years, it all came crashing down. James went on to set a YouTube record for losing the most subscribers in a single day. And soon after, he was accused of repeatedly messaging minors and sending them explicit photos.
I'm a very mature 16. So we had maybe 5 texts back and forth on Instagram. It was age check, I'm a very mature 16. But he then proceeded to snap me, and we snapped for a while, didn't really talk much, whatever. Then I get this snap one day. Now, this is November 24th, 2020, James Charles.
And rather than stepping back, James made everything worse. Every response, every post, and every attempt at damage control only pushed public opinion further against him.
Talked about it, and how is your love life?
Shit.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, so the thing is, for me, I'm 21, but like I said, I have the mentality of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm much more mentally and emotionally mature than a lot of people my age. I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. I would date the absolute youngest.
But to understand James Charles, we have to go back to when it all began. James had been posting his everyday makeup photos on his Instagram since 2015, when he was still a student at Bethlehem Central High School, New York. Not that big of a deal. However, one particular post changed everything. In 2016, during his senior year, James decided to retake his senior yearbook photos even though the ones he had taken before looked good. Because why not? This led to the creation of a post on Twitter that read, "So I retook my senior photos and brought my ring light with me so my highlight would be poppin'. I love being extra." That single post exploded overnight, pulling in over 28,000 retweets and nearly 70,000 likes, as people praised his makeup skills and good looks. "This is the most extra thing I've ever seen, and I'm in love. Shut the fuck up, this is gorgeous. You are gorgeous." Within no time, James went from an average popular kid to the first ever male brand ambassador for CoverGirl at just 17 years old. And just like that, he replaced Katy Perry, who had been the face of the brand before him. Just wrapped another great at CoverGirl shoot. Honored to have the pleasure to announce the very first cover boy, James Charles. Follow him. From there, his rise to real fame was fast, because he became linked to major celebrities like Taylor Swift, Rihanna, and even appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Our first guest is an incredibly talented makeup artist. His photos on Instagram caught the attention of the biggest makeup company in the world. Now he's made history by becoming the first ever male CoverGirl. From Bethlehem, New York, please welcome 17-year-old James Charles. So, James Charles, you're the first male CoverGirl.
Just 2 years after his viral senior yearbook photos, James had hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube and landed even more collaborations with people like Kim Kardashian and Colleen Ballinger. Yet, this wasn't his peak. In 2019, his involvement in the Sister Squad alongside Emma Chamberlain and the Dolan twins, Ethan and Grayson, pushed his videos from a few million views to over 40 million.
Yeah, we do have names.
I'm Grayson.
Emma.
Ethan.
So,
We're gonna be picking out each other's outfits.
thank you.
There we go.
And taking advantage of this massive following, James collaborated with Kylie Jenner and grew close to Tati Westbrook, who acted as both a mentor and supporter.
Hi sisters, it's James Charles here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see, I'm not in my normal studio setup and I have an amazing special guest with me.
Oh my God.
Beautiful, I'm not even gonna let you introduce
I know,
yourself. My
right?
beautiful, amazing.
At the time, James looked unstoppable, and it seemed like nothing could go wrong. Until it did. See, for years, James had been making a rather seemingly harmless confession, expressing his attraction to straight men, saying, "Attractive straight boys will be the death of me." Something that foreshadowed his downfall, especially after Tati released a video named Bye Sister on May 10, 2019. In it, Tati expressed her dissatisfaction with how James tried to coerce a straight guy to be with him.
Oh my God, you tried to trick a straight man into thinking he's gay yet again, and somehow you're the victim. You know, it's really disgusting to manipulate someone's sexuality, especially when they are still, emerging into adulthood, and you're doing that to have them behave sexually in your favor, even if they're straight, and you know what? That's not okay.
This was after her birthday dinner, where James had hit on their waiter despite knowing he was straight.
Did it at my birthday dinner, and I made excuses for you then. You were talking in detail about things you wanted to do to the waiter, and when I said, James, he's straight,
Not long after Tati's video went viral, screenshots of James's private messages with the waiter began leaking online. And because of the attention it got, this pushed the waiter, later identified as Sam Cook, to come forward and tell his side of the story. Sam explained that at the time he was feeling bi-curious, and that the two of them met up one night and consensually made out in James's hotel room for about an hour.
And then I replied with LMAO. Then he asked me how I was, and then you can kind of read here, like, sorry about last night, you're very attractive.
But after that night, Sam realized he wasn't interested in taking things any further, and so he told James clearly that he didn't want to see him again. However, a few weeks later, James reportedly reached out once more, this time offering to fly Sam out to Los Angeles. This made Sam uncomfortable. He turned James down, explaining that he was straight and that a trip to LA with him wouldn't feel right. Unfortunately, James didn't accept the rejection. He continued messaging Sam and insisted that Sam was actually bisexual or gay and secretly attracted to him. On its own, the story was already damaging, but once Tati shared it with her massive audience, everything exploded. In just 1 week, James lost over 3.1 million YouTube subscribers, and at the peak of the chaos, he lost 1.26 million subscribers in a single day, setting a YouTube record that still hasn't been broken. Even with that record, the situation was far from over. A few months later, James, feeling betrayed by his mentor, posted a calm and carefully worded response video titled "No More Lies," where he went through Tati's claims one by one. James argued that there was no solid proof behind Tati's claims, and he also shared screenshots of his own, which seemed to tell a very different story. Surprisingly, the video worked. As more people followed the drama, James gained back around 2 million of the subscribers he had lost. But James wasn't going after Tati alone. He also accused another major beauty influencer, Jeffree Star, of secretly helping Tati push the campaign meant to tarnish his name. And regarding the claims involving Sam Cook, James released messages that suggested Sam had been unclear about his interests. This helped James avoid any serious consequences and shifted much of the public anger back toward Tati, who, under the pressure, began to fall apart, all while James got a clean slate again. In fact, this controversy gave him even more attention, and over the next year, his total views tripled, and it looked like his career was back on track. But the calm didn't last. As 2021 came by, James once again found himself in trouble after a tense interview on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast, where he made a shocking admission that would follow him for years to come.
I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like, I would date like the absolute youngest, like 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or like 24 that like has a young personality.
Okay.
So like,
Following this confession, some people were very suspicious of him, with one pointing out he likes teenage boys. One time is benefit of the doubt, second time is highly suspicious, third time, you're caught, period. And just a month later, in February 2021, James would get called out online once again, this time from a 16-year-old TikToker named Isaiah, who took to TikTok to explain how James had tried to seduce him through Snapchat. In the TikTok video, Isaiah shared his experience with James Charles and explained how their interaction made him feel deeply uncomfortable. Isaiah said it all started when James added him on Snapchat. At the time, Isaiah was thrilled because James was a big influencer and someone he had always looked up to, so getting noticed by him felt unreal. However, things changed fast. Isaiah explained that while he was in his bathroom, James noticed and suddenly shifted the conversation in an inappropriate direction. This caught Isaiah off guard and made him feel uneasy. Regardless, James asked Isaiah to record a hands-free video in the shower, flexing his muscles and showing his body hair. On top of that, James suggested that Isaiah simply showing off his body could be enough to sexually excite James, even without doing anything explicit. But the situation only got worse from there. To sweeten the deal, Isaiah claimed that James began sending him explicit photos of his own body, which made him extremely uncomfortable, making him reveal to James that he was only 16 years old. However, according to Isaiah, even after learning his age, James continued asking for photos and videos, which left Isaiah more shaken and confused.
So this is part 2 of the James Charles story. So after sending me that first picture of his body, explicitly, he sent me multiple after that, and I'll post them now. I was getting really uncomfortable, so I told him my age. I told him I'm 16. Meanwhile, he's 21. He's a grown man. And then he proceeds to say, oh, but I didn't get to see meaning my body.
If Isaiah's claims are accurate, it suggests James knew exactly how old Isaiah was, but chose to ignore it. Yeah, what made these accusations more damaging to James than the past controversies was the evidence. Unlike earlier dramas, Isaiah had screenshots that appeared to back up his story, which caused many people to take the situation far more seriously. But like he had dealt with previous controversies, James responded in a familiar way. He posted a long statement written in the Notes app on Twitter, claiming that the entire situation was a misunderstanding. According to James, he did add Isaiah on Snapchat but asked his age right away. He claimed Isaiah initially told him he was 18, and that once he later found out that Isaiah was actually 16, he immediately stopped flirting, apologized, and unfriended Isaiah, and they haven't spoken since. However, Isaiah would fire back saying, "James, we both know I blocked you. You never asked for my age. After I told you I was 16, you proceeded to ask me for nudes and said it didn't matter. You called me hot and said, I wish the timeline could speed up so you can be 18. This could have been the end for James, but the biggest issue with this situation is that there's no clear way to know who was telling the truth. Since all of the messages were sent on Snapchat, where chats disappear, there's no complete record of what happened or when. Because of that, there's no full timeline to show whether the screenshots were taken before or after Isaiah told James he was 16. That missing context made it impossible to prove either side completely. And when you look at it that way, James's explanation seemed more believable to some, because he was the bigger public figure with far more to lose. James even pointed this out himself in the same statement, saying, I would never knowingly engage with anyone underage and put my life on the line for a few Snapchats. And once again, the people were divided, with some believing James's explanation while others felt the screenshots told a much darker story. One user wrote, I don't understand why people keep doing this to you, while another wrote, I am so tired of you being able to get away with this. You've abused your fame to solicit sexual actions from fans multiple times. You know they're vulnerable to you because they're fans, and when they ask about it, you weaponize your following against them simply by saying. At this point, many people online were still willing to give James the benefit of the doubt. But that quickly changed when similar stories kept coming out, one after another, as more influencers spoke up accusing James of pressuring them to send inappropriate photos. It started to feel less like a one-time mistake and more like a pattern, and people began asking for the police to intervene.
James Charles, I am so done with James Charles. Oh, I'm gonna go off on James Charles today. He needs to be put in a cage, all right? I am so done. Trust me.
And this was the moment when real consequences finally caught up to James. Not long after, he was removed from YouTube's partner program, dropped as a brand ambassador for the makeup brand Morphe, and even kicked off the reality show Instant Influencer, which was originally built around him. With everything crashing down at once, James did what many influencers do when they're exposed. He uploaded an apology video, which he later made private.
As many of you guys know, about 2 years ago now, I was involved with a very public online scandal in which some fellow YouTubers made some very serious accusations against me, and within the past couple of weeks, similar accusations are being made again, and I think it's very important that I get on camera and talk to you guys honestly about what is going on. It's going to be nothing like No More Lies. This is not exactly planned. I don't have a script. I will let you guys know that I do have just some notes in front of me of points that I want to make because this is a very serious topic.
But here's the real reason James created this video.
There is my life, my friends, my business. I like to think of myself as pretty put together and on top of things, and I couldn't understand why relationships were the one outlier. Why were they not working? Why was this area of me so different? And I finally came to a conclusion. It sucks and it is ridiculously embarrassing to admit this, but I think I have to, and that is that I'm desperate. The idea of actually being in a relationship became so important to me that I was willing to trust too quickly, miss out on red flags, and most importantly, not take the precautionary measures that really anybody, but especially somebody with a public platform, should be taking before talking to anybody.
By the end of the video, James promised to take some time off the public scene and reflect on what he had done. Unfortunately for him, nobody was buying it, as most viewers saw it as a fake apology. One user put it, he just sounds kind of annoyed that he has to apologize. And another one said, I'm so mad that he didn't specifically talk about certain situations and what he did into detail. He keeps avoiding it by saying, I am ignoring red flags, I'm desperate, etc. How can you hold yourself accountable if you aren't explaining what you did and your full honesty on it? As a result, James went from over 10 million views to barely hitting 4 million. Despite this, he consistently uploaded videos after returning to YouTube, and over time, some of his audience slowly came back. It looked like he might be rebuilding his career, but that comeback didn't last long. Just this year, James was pulled into a controversy that damaged whatever trust people still had in him. It all began in April 2025, when influencer Kayla Malik released a 2-part video series on her channel titled, "He Doesn't Love You." In those videos, Kayla spoke openly about months of emotional and physical abuse she suffered at the hands of her ex-boyfriend Evan Johnson. Not long after the videos went live, Evan was arrested based on the evidence Kayla shared, and on May 7th, he was found guilty of domestic assault against her. As the story spread, more names started getting pulled into the situation. James was first connected to the controversy by another influencer, Zach Sellers, who said he was a former friend of Evan. According to Zach, James had stayed close to Evan even after the abuse allegations became public. But even worse, he accused James of coaching Evan behind the scenes and helping him navigate the whole situation. And here is where it gets crazy. Zach alleged that James encouraged Evan to downplay Kayla's claims, even calling them lies.
And that's when James came back to Evan and was like, well, you didn't lose anything, Evan, out of this. If anything, you won. You got away from the psycho. She is the psychopath. Like, you are not the problem. She's the problem. She's been known to be the problem. She has been known to lie. She has been also known to make up complete fake stories just to get clout and have views.
And what does James do in response? What he's always done. He released a TikTok reaction video saying, "I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form. Let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him. I don't support violence against women. And I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, heinous acts he committed against Kayla Malik behind closed doors." As convincing as he wanted to sound, the timing of James's response raised a lot of eyebrows, because his video went up on May 8th, just one day after Evan was sentenced. And given James's past, not many people were willing to believe he was being honest. For once, it didn't look like he was going to talk his way out of this one. Because Kayla soon took to TikTok and shared detailed evidence that suggested James had been involved with Evan while the investigation was still ongoing. She began by showing proof that James had shown interest in Evan long before the breakup even happened. According to her, James had been privately messaging Evan, sending flirty texts while Kayla and Evan were still together. However, what really turned people against James was his alleged reaction to the breakup itself. Kayla shared a screenshot of a conversation where she told James that she and Evan had split up. In that message, a part of James's response read, "Can I have him now?" To many people, the message felt cold and careless, as it showed no concern for what Kayla had been through. And by now, people are just tired of James. As one Reddit user put it, how many chances are people going to give James Charles? Every single time he does something gross, he gets to wriggle out of it, while the women who called him out get subjected to a barrage of misogynistic abuse. And then we get to hear about how he's really genuinely sorry this time, and he's gonna do better, and then a little while later, he does the same creepy and gross again. I'm really tired of watching this cycle play out over and over. The whole situation ended up becoming the final blow to James' career, because he went from getting over 2 million views to barely hitting 1 million. Perhaps if James had watched what he openly confessed from the very beginning, he would not have found himself in this position. Because otherwise, people will still look at him and see the guy who uses his clout to coerce young straight men to do his bidding, without caring who gets hurt in the way.